Episode 12. The New Year Lantern in Beijing, the weight of letting go. Have you ever held on to something for too long? A regret, a mistake, a past version of yourself that no longer serves you? Have you ever felt the weight of something invisible, something only you can feel? I used to believe that holding on meant strength, that if I just carried my past long enough, I could somehow make peace with it. But then, in the heart of Beijing, on the eve of the Lunar New Year, I watched a lantern rise into the night sky, and as it floated higher, I understood something I never had before. Sometimes, the heaviest burdens are the ones we refuse to let go of. This is the story of a cold winter night, an old woman selling lanterns, and the lesson I learned about the weight of letting go. Beijing in winter is cold, the kind of cold that seeps into your bones, that makes the breath in front of you curl like smoke. But on the eve of the Lunar New Year, the city is alive. Streets lined with red lanterns, golden banners fluttering in the wind, the scent of roasted chestnuts and dumplings filling the air. I had arrived just a few days earlier, hoping to experience the celebrations firsthand. I wandered through the streets, bundled in layers, watching families hurry home with bags full of food, children clutching firecrackers, their faces bright with excitement. I should have felt the same excitement, the energy of renewal, of joy, but instead I felt heavy, like I was carrying something I couldn't quite name, a weight pressing down on me, one I had grown so used to that I barely noticed it anymore. Maybe it was the past. Maybe it was the things I hadn't forgiven myself for, the moments I wished I could rewrite, the people I had let go of but never truly released from my heart. Maybe it was all of it, tangled together in a knot that I didn't know how to untie. I found myself in a small hutong, one of Beijing's old alleyways where time seemed to slow down. The modern skyscrapers disappeared, replaced by low brick houses, red doors adorned with golden calligraphy, lanterns hung above the narrow street, swaying gently in the wind. And that's when I saw her, an old woman sitting behind a small wooden stall, her hands carefully tying strings to delicate paper lanterns. She must have been in her late 70s, bundled in layers, her face lined with deep wrinkles, but her hands were steady, precise, as she prepared each lantern with quiet focus. I watched as people approached her, exchanging a few yuan for a lantern before disappearing down the street. I hesitated, then finally stepped forward. "Are these for the New Year?" I asked in hesitant Mandarin. She looked up, studying me with sharp eyes. "Or letting go," she said simply. Something about the way she said it made me pause. Letting go. Was that what these lanterns were for? She must have sensed my hesitation, because she gestured to the one in front of her. "Right," she said, "whatever you wish to leave behind. Then let it rise." I hesitated, my fingers brushing over the smooth paper of the lantern. Did I even know what I needed to let go of? I sat on a small stool beside her, the cold seeping through my coat. She handed me a brush and ink. I held it over the lantern, staring at the blank space in front of me. What do I write? For a moment, my mind was blank, but then slowly the words came. Regrets, failures, names I hadn't spoken in years, the past versions of myself I still carried, the ones I couldn't seem to release. By the time I finished, the ink had dried, and my heart felt exposed. It was all there, written in black, staring back at me. The old woman gave a small nod. She took a match and lit the small candle inside the lantern. The flame flickered, growing steady, and the lantern began to fill with warmth, growing lighter, brighter. She motioned for me to lift it. I stood, holding the lantern in my hands, feeling the heat of the flame, the fragile paper trembling slightly in the night air. And then, with a breath, I let go. I watched as it floated upward, golden against the night sky. higher and higher, carried by the wind, until it became just another flickering light among hundreds of others rising above the city. I felt something shift inside me, a loosening, a lightness. Maybe it wasn't magic, maybe it was just paper and fire. But in that moment, I understood something. I had been holding on to things I no longer needed. And by releasing them, I wasn't losing anything. I was making space for something new. I turned to the old woman, my breath clouding in the cold. "Oh's it work?" I asked. "Letting go?" She smiled, her eyes twinkling. "Tea works if you believe it does." I thought about that as I walked away, my hands still warm from the lantern. Maybe letting go wasn't about forgetting. Maybe it wasn't about erasing the past. Maybe it was about accepting that some things don't belong to us anymore. And maybe that's okay. As I walked through the streets of Beijing, the city bursting into life with the arrival of the new year, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Not just relief, not just closure, but possibility. The past is heavy, but it only weighs us down if we refuse to set it down. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is let go and trust that something better is waiting ahead. In the next episode, we'll travel deep into the Amazon, where a river will teach us how to embrace the currents of change. Until then, I'll leave you with this. What would you write on your lantern? And if you let it go, what might you make space for?